want to just hit you with some their offensive defense rating, net rating right now. Okay? They have a net rating of 18.8, which means they're outscoring by teams by 18.8 points per 100 possessions. The second best net rating in the NBA is the New York Liberty, who have a net rating of 8.1. The Aces have an offensive rating of 113.7. The second best offense league is the New York Liberty at 107.9. Defensive rating of 94.9. The best defense league is the Washington Mystics at 94.7. So they were within like less than a point, 0.2 of the best defense in the league. They have the best offense in the league. They have the best net rating in the league, and they're 16-1. They are 16-1 in 17 games played, and they don't feel like they have a weakness at all. This team legitimately feels. This team, Brendon, just feels like a juggernaut. This team feels like the runaway favorite to win the title right now.
Did you watch that Aces Liberty game the other week?
I did, and I came away feeling not super. I would not come away from that game feeling super optimistic about my chances of beating the Aces if I was at Liberty after watching that game.
No. It was pretty ugly at times. Like, it really, really was. I just think the level of execution is at another level. I mean, and it's kind of crazy because you would think, I like the core four players have been together for a while now in Vegas. 2 years between Asia, Plum, Young, and Gray. But Candace Parker has fit right in. Alicia Clark has fit right in. Kia Stokes still does her job. It's just, it's a level that, like, it feels like this team has been playing together for a decade. This is legit one of my favorite basketball teams I can remember watching. Like, they're sick. Like, it's really crazy. And I feel like that Liberty team, the level of, I think it was Sabrina who we had on, tweeted after that game, like, or retweeted somebody, I don't know. It was going around of, like, this is not a league with two super teams and everybody else. This is a league with one super team, one great team, and then everybody else. Like, the distance between the Aces and the Liberty is almost as much as the Liberty and the next best team, especially now that Brianna Jones went down from Connecticut and their season is going sideways a little bit. So it's just crazy. I mean, everybody can handle the ball. Everybody who plays can handle the ball. They all play with, like, an insane amount of force. Like, they just take it to you. They're physical. They can control the pace if it's slow, or they can be comfortable if it's slow. They can be comfortable if it's fast. And, like, strategically, schematically, whatever, I love the way that they go about offense because it kind of takes advantage of both of those things. Like, almost right away, and, like, I just watched the Dallas game, so some of that's in my head, and they had Crystal Dangerfield defending Chelsea Gray, which is like a 6-inch size advantage for Chelsea.
Sure.
And so, like, and then Asia had mismatches sometimes and whatever. Like, they were just trying to get quick post-ups or quick ISOs for those two. But if at the exact same time, whoever had the ball, there's something being set up weak side. So they can just flow right into a second side pick and roll or a pin down or another post-up into something, or there's a shooter open because the defense is just freaking out about all of that. And it's just so natural. And, like, they'll use the whole shot clock sometimes and still get an amazing shot. And like, back to that Liberty game, like, New York's defense just had no idea what was going on a lot of that game. And they didn't have the personnel to execute it, and they just did not have the comfort level to try to keep up with what Vegas was doing. I mean, you have on here that they don't have a weakness.
It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. I think there is a theoretical weakness. The problem is I just don't think anybody in the W can match it, which is like a huge five who can punt, because they aren't the biggest team in the world, but who is that team? There really isn't anybody like that. Like against Dallas, and they were down at halftime and they kind of had to scratch and claw. Dallas played them really physically. Tara McCowan is one of the biggest players in the league, and she was just smashing the offensive boards and finishing and everything, but it's like, and they still won by 7.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, what are you going to do?
But I even go back to that Liberty game, and it was just seeing, like, the different ways they could kind of exploit Sabrina, depending on who. Sabrina would just end up on an island against Chelsea Gray, and Chelsea Gray's, like, I'm getting a bucket on you. I'm going to get an assist off you. They had no answer for that, and they could just
Shoulder
pick on
down,
these things.
Sabrina's on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a wrap. And like Sabrina's a very good player, but that's like a weak point they can press on defensively, and she just physically was not capable of handling the onslaught. And it's like you want to put her on Kelsey Plum, that means Chelsea Gray's attacking someone else off ball, or Plum's going to get into Sabrina and scoring her because Plum's like a ridiculous player and has been like even better since coming back from the Achilles thing, which maybe isn't even talked about enough, considering we don't talk about women's sports enough. This like their only loss also was like they lost to Connecticut. Second game, they played in Connecticut 2 games in a row. They lost that game. Asia had like 5 of 10 in that game. DeWanna Bonner had 41. Like it took DeWanna Bonner having 41 on 6 of 23 shooting and 5 of 7 from 3 for them to win that game. Only 2 other players in that game, Brendon, for the Mystics were in double figures. Like that was just like Bonner went off and the Aces were just kind of like, okay, like we're in Connecticut again. Let's just like get out of here and go home. They didn't like the box score does not paint a real picture of like, oh, we're real up for this game, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that would have been the team. I actually think the Sun match up better against the Aces than the Liberty do now.
I agree.
Especially because if we're talking about a big center like Brianna Jones was that. Unfortunately, speaking of Achilles tears, she suffered that, and so their team's just back to they've always gotten the injury bug at the worst time and everything else. John Cole Jones just needs to be better if the Liberty are going to beat the Aces. She needs to be better, period. I don't know what's up with her this season. She's been frankly bad in a lot of games that I've watched them for her standard in terms of being a superstar addition. And it's mental lapses. It is not, she's not as involved on offense, and I understand that can bleed in. She's an MVP having to take a big sacrifice, but defensively she has to hold it down if the Liberty are going to have any chance in this stuff. And like the thing is, like, and to go back to that Dallas game or any of these things, even if you beat them with a certain thing, Bonner going off, Tierra McCowan smashing the offensive boards and keeping the game close and, being played physically. There was a bunch of fouls in that Wings game and everything else. Nobody in the WNBA can guard either Asia Wilson or Chelsea Gray one-on-one late in the game. They're going to get a good shot. And so it's just like you're picking your poison. I have some historical context here for you if you're interested, Chris.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to kind of start wrapping this up a little bit.
All right. The starting lineup this year for the Aces, plus 27 per 100 possessions. Playbyplaystats.com, which is like a very geeky NBA stats website, has WNBA data going back to 2009, I want to say.
Okay.
From lineup data, shot data, everything. Like lots of stuff that is much appreciated compared to where we were even like 5-6 years ago. So they have lineups. So I'm not going to go back to like the Comets era and some of the stuff. I know there's been great teams prior, but this is basically the best lineup in the history of the WNBA that we're watching right now. Last year's Aces starters with Hamby, plus 18 net rating in the postseason. 2019 Mystics, which was like my previous favorite WNBA team ever, just filthy, plus 24. 2018 Storm, also pretty revolutionary with like 5-out stuff, plus 20. 2017 Lynx, which was like the best Minnesota team from their dynasty, plus 19 per 100 possessions. And then the 2014 Mercury, which is kind of thought of as like the best team in WNBA history. They have the best regular season record ever and won the championship in Griner's first year. They were plus 23 net rating per 100 possessions. So it's not just that the Aces are like eking out an advantage over those. They're like substantially better than the best teams we've ever seen in this league right now. And they have a good bench. And, Raquana Williams isn't even playing and everything. So, yeah. I mean, you're looking at 3 finals in 4 years if they make it. 2 championships back-to-back, which would be the first one in 2 decades in the WNBA. Mm-hmm. Nobody goes back-to-back in this league. And their whole core is locked up through next season, too.
Should note that 2 final things, I guess, to wrap this up. Right now, the BetMGM is as far as title odds. We talked about this when we did our Big W preview. The Aces are minus 225 right now. That is a shift in their favor. They are bigger favorites than they were to start the year. The Liberty are now plus 250. The Sun at plus 1,600. The Mystics at plus 2,500. The Dallas Wings at plus 6,600. Everyone else is plus 10,000.
Yeah. If the finals is the two super teams, I don't know if we're getting a close finals. That's where we are right now.